like whatever we have a new script, same thing. I copied.
See,
Even
line number 68, you are using a role, but you are passing from the source workflow the access key and secret key. That doesn't
no,
work, right?
that is an optional. So if you see here, access key and secret key is a optional parameter.
Okay, are you also passing the role? Like with
Yeah,
the role?
I'm passing
Can you
both the
show me that?
role.
Can you show me that?
See here in the workflow.
Okay.
Previously, I'm passing as a secret, but I thought something is
Ah,
issue, so
okay.
then I replaced with
Okay.
hard coded here,
Mhm.
but it is throwing some error, so I need to check again.
So, okay. Was the error shows line number 34, 36 on
34.
the, and also what's the reusable workflow, your name that you given?
Reusable workflow name is AWS -S3. Simple.
Can you go to
Yes.
okay, okay. And what was there in the line number? Also 34, 36 it is throwing error as per the log.
34. Yeah, 34 is the
Missing value.
secrets.
Missing is required property is missing value. Not here on the reusable workflow.
Okay.
Not here.
So on the
Here,
reusable workflow,
34,
34
36.
plan.
Outputs is having
Yeah,
some issue.
yeah. I need to comment out this on the replay.
Yeah, just try commenting out and maybe we can troubleshoot that. Why? So the output should have a value.
Yeah.
So the value that comes from the below. So you just given the description and the output variable, but you have not defined the value that is
In
there
the
in the reusable workflow.
authentication token, it's required.
Now it's a different error. So you have not defined the tokens in the reference
No,
workflow.
I updated the token.
No, not. I mean, I'm talking about the token definition.
Definition also is there, I think. It's permission. This is the one, right?
Yeah. And like, can you go to the error ones? Check the line number. Line number 35.
35, 27. Here, 35, 35.
I'm going to go to the source workflow. See, you are passing in the line number 35. So you are passing with GitHub underscore token, but you are using in the reusable workflow with a different name. So
But okay.
auth GitHub coming from the secrets. Okay, this is
This
coming
is the
from
name
secret.
that
Yeah, that is coming from the secrets, but that
yeah.
name you have to create in the UI. That is fine. That you created.
Mm.
So while passing line number 35, the name, the key, we call it as key. So the key is different here and in the reusable workflow. See here.
Then yeah, I updated here also.
So you have to update with the just GitHub underscore token. No, you cannot rerun because if you rerun, it will take the previous commit. So you have to run a fresh job.
Okay. Let's fill again.
Yeah, scroll down.
Collide the system. Discount name.
Okay, so it says you cannot use the
Is this GitHub?
existing token.
This GitHub name it is not allowing. That's why
Yeah,
I
because it
changed
is
it to
already
this.
so then what you have to do? You have to do like auth. I forgot to mention. Uh, so change that to source and reusable workflows with the auth underscore GitHub.
Hmm.
Yeah. It is. It is. Can you go back?
That is different workflow.
Okay. Okay. Just run now. So for the first time, even I do the same. I will debug each by line.
Uh,
And okay, now it's failed with startup event.
invalid.
Okay, now you are getting some permission issues. So check the permissions in both the source and the reusable workflow.
Okay.
Let's check whether you have to like whether you have created or not. Click on workflow and let's check. Did you have added any permission? No, you missed the
I didn't
permissions.
pass the
Yeah,
permission
just
here.
add permissions.
So
Just
here
like
I
in
need
the
to.
just like the just copy paste this. Just copy this. Go to the source workflow.
One second.
Edit directly. Just scroll down. Just add under uses. Under
Git,
uses. Yeah, anyway. No. Control Z. Yeah, just like yeah. Okay. Now commit and run the workflow again.
what is different? Seems something it's initiated Finally.
Let's go inside the job.
Yeah, it seems completed. So, error. No
No
configuration file.
configuration files. Some issue with the click on Terraform validate and Terraform init. So
Terraform.
init, Terraform init and Terraform validate. So you don't have the directory, the configuration variant. So can you go to the root of the folder, root of this folder, root of this project? Like where is the Terraform configuration?
Terraform configuration. That is on the here. One second. Here. Oh, I didn't add that for
Yeah.
it. Provisioner
So
something. Yeah, provisioner is missing here.
this configurations you have to put in the source, not here.
Okay. So it should not
Modules.
be. It
Yeah.
should be in the reusable
Yes.
workflow place that we
Yes.
have to
Yes.
see.
Yes. And also make sure you follow the pattern of the Terraform. So you should have backend main.tf. All the files are missing. Just check my repository once.
Yeah, I didn't add that thing, so I just trying.
Okay, and from workflow point of view, it was like you have configured correctly. Now you don't have any issues. Just that you
Oh,
have to test by moving these files in the source. And
sure.
just
I'll add the provider and the other things.
yeah. Backend. Yeah, just refer the my repository. That's
Sure,
it.
sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for it. It was nice. Yeah. Yeah. Good job. By the way.
Thank you.
So what I have right now is the same project, but I have done in a different way. Like how Pradeep done one of the way. So similarly, I have done in the other way. Let me share that. Let me share my screen. So this is my DevOps reusable workflows. I have like kept my workflow of the Terraform related workflows in this folder, and this is my source folder. So the GitHub Action Terraform is my source repository. So my intention for this project is like yesterday I was talking, right? How you can deploy to multiple environments. So this tweak that I have done is that to deploy to the dev and the prod. So what I have done is like I have kept all the Terraform files as it is. If you go to the workflow, I have moved all the workflow steps from here. If you see, I'm just making a call to the reusable workflow. The how I am calling this reusable workflow, this is sitting in a separate repository. The repository name is DevOps reusable workflows, and then it is in the same organization, or you can keep anywhere, any different organization. So this is my like DevOps guys will maintain this repository if you think from the project point of view. So this DevOps reusable workflow will contain only the workflows. It will not contain any source code information. It will not contain any Terraform uh, configuration files, .tf files. It will not contain. It will not contain all of those files. So this for repository may usually maintained by the DevOps engineers, where it only contains the reusable workflows. So if here comes the like the actual source repository, where it basically contains all the Terraform modules, configurations, and along with that, it will also have a workflow. So this workflow will basically call the reusable workflow. The way we call the reusable workflow, if the workflow is sitting on a different repository, is you have to call with the organization name and the repository name, which is same as this one, and then the path. All the workflow should sit in this .github/workflow/ and the workflow name, like the workflow YML. So you also have to pass @ main branch parameter Right now I don't have here, but I have that bug fixed in the feature branch. I haven't yet merged to the main. This is how you have to define. So you have to define at the rate of main, which base indirectly targeting to the main, this main branch. That is mandatory. The reference is mandatory. So let's come to the source repository. I mean the source workflow. So this workflow has different features where the workflow will call this workflow in multiple triggers, where it will call using the workflow dispatch, or it will trigger, basically this workflow will get triggered using the pull request. And whenever this workflow is triggered, it directly calls these reusable workflows. And other important thing that you guys need to understand is, so this workflow will have environment stages. So basically the first starting point is we are calling the environment stages.yml file. If you go to the environment stages.yml, it basically contains two jobs. One is the deploying to the dev environment, other is deploying to the prod. So what mainly you have to observe here is in the user section. So in the user section, like I'm calling Terraform hyphen steps for the dev. And also I'm calling Terraform hyphen steps.yml in the prod as well. So I'm basically customizing this workflow. So Terraform.steps. So in yesterday's uh, session, we have put it everything in the Terraform, like in single file. Think of this single file like we have split it in uh, like calling for different environments. So you have the environment.yml file, which basically calls for different environments. So the way we are calling here is, so we are basically calling with the environment dev. So this environment dev I have created in the source repository. So if you go to environments and go to dev and prod. So these are two environments I've created. For the prod, I have added a protection rule. Protection rule should, like I have added because I need someone to approve before deploying to the production. So that's why I added a required review section, and I added myself as a reviewer. Or if you like, usually you will add it a teams, like group of like folks, you release managers. So they will be part of this required reviewer section. But for the example, I have added myself as a reviewer. So until unless you approve, it will not proceed to the further deploying to the dev. Like how it looks like, right? This is the workflow I have triggered. Anyway, I'll trigger again. So it deployed to dev successfully, but when it comes to the prod, it is waiting for the approval. So if you click here, you have to review the pending dependency, and you have to click this prod, and you have to click on approve and deploy. So when you click on approve and deploy, it will start triggering the job for deploying to the production. So as simple as that. But the whole idea is here, so you have like this reusable workflow repository where you have environment stages to maintain different environments. Tomorrow, if there is a new environment that you need to add, so you have to simply copy paste these steps and then add a test environment. Like if they want a test environment, so you have after dev environment, you just have to add a test environment. So if you add a test environment, again, you use the same Terraform steps.yml, which we discussed like yesterday, how the steps flow will be look like, where it has the different steps for Terraform initialization, validate, plan, and apply. So let's do one thing. But before that, let's complete this pull request and raise a fresh pull request. So I'm thinking like everything is good with this pull request, and then merge pull request, confirm merge. I don't know what will happen, but let's go to job actions. So it started triggering workflow, but I don't know what is doing. Okay. So it is started deploying the changes to the dev. It all about like once you have the configuration ready, how you should trigger your workflow is all depending upon the way you configure inside a pipeline. So it started running plan. So it is basically refreshing and trying to create some resources. And then it is trying to create applying on the dev account. So it started creating the resource on the dev account. So for this demo, dev and prod, I'm using the same AWS account. That's why you will see the same account ID and also the role. So, but like in the real-time projects, we'll be having each account with different ID and with a I mean, the role name will be the same, but we create roles for different environments. So let's do one thing. Let's go to the Terraform source repository. So let's create a feature branch, feature slash demo. So yeah, I'm just creating a feature slash demo branch. And then I'm going inside this. So I think I have like, I deleted the bucket in the backend. So that's why it is still trying to create. But let's leave this, then create a fresh build. I'm going inside this source. So I'm going inside the demo branch and then trying to edit something. I'm just trying to add a hyphen in order to create a pull request. So now it shows the pull request able to create from feature to main branch. So just change this like create pull request from feature hyphen. Okay, I'm looking in a different branch basically. I mean different repository altogether. So this is my repository. So now I'll create it. Okay, let it create some. So you see multiple options because I've forked this project. So I created a pull request. Let's go to actions. We started triggering the. So I started triggering the dev workflow. So for every pull request to main, so it started triggering the workflow and deploying the changes. So usually prod will be triggered only once we merge to the main. But for this demo, so prod, like before you deploy any changes to the prod, we have enabled a section like required reviewers section to basically deploy it. So just check the runners actions. So like right now we don't have any runners configured. So let's configure runner. That's why if you don't have any runners that pick up this job will be in the queued state. So sometimes in projects, if so many people are working and if you are coming from a weekend and you are working on Monday and you triggered a job and if job is not running and the job status is queued, which indirectly indicates that your runners are down or your runners went offline. So if like the way you have to troubleshoot is you have to go to settings and then go to actions, runners. So here you will see all the runners. So you will see status like offline. And if you see status like offline, which means the runners are down. So if you have control over the runners, then you should you should basically restart the runners in order to bring up the online. So we usually face that in the projects. So right now we don't have any runners for this repository. Let's do one thing.
So how do we run the Runner Studio? Is it like simply read on the scripts or how it is?
Sorry, I didn't get you. How do we?
Restart the runners. Like if it is in offline state, how do we
Uh,
restart if we have a
so
control on it?
from view UI, you can't restart. That
Yeah,
is one thing.
UI we can't
And
restart.
yeah, so you have to connect to the server uh,
Okay,
and then perform step. Like first you have to check the whether the service is up and running or not. And then you have to check the runner status by running few commands.
okay.
Like a runner health, you basically check. That is one thing.
Mm.
So generally, like I was talking, the runners will basically they set it up on the Kubernetes, right? So there you have to check the Kubernetes pods, logs you have to check any issues with the connection issues, stuff like that. Any issues with the pod resources, that is one important. Any out of memory, I mean, on the node where the runners are configured. So all these like multiple regions it could be there, but all these you have to check one by one.
Okay. Oh,
So right now both the repositories doesn't have any runners configured. So let me quickly um, configure one runners. So now the runner is online. So let's do one thing. So let's go to pull request again and then create a pull request. Okay, let's do a feature branch creation. Earlier we created in different repository. Let's make a small change. I think we have okay, I have already made a change. Let's go to pull request, no pull request. Okay, there is nothing to change. So let's make a small change in the feature demo. Now I'll create a pull request demo and then click on create. So I'm creating and then created the pull request. Let's see whether the job is okay. It is picked up now. Okay, started running the job. So again, so on the backend, what happening? It is like calling the reusable workflow that is sitting in the different repository. And then inside, like first it will call, I mean, it will call this workflow. And inside this workflow, for depending upon the environment, we are calling this uh, workflow again. Like it's like a chain. So we are basically splitting the tasks into chunks to make the functionality. Like they like the regions could be anything. So like so we have to do like in the most optimized way. Uh, so this is how like the standards they usually they follow. So they will not put all the steps in everything in a single place. So now yeah, the workflow is failed because of an issue with the state lock. So let me unlock the state lock. I mean, so every time you run a Terraform, it will like the state will be locked. So you have to unlock the state with that. I mean, that is like usual behavior. But in the real-time projects, like if someone is pushing, so they will basically log the state file using DynamoDB, like which I haven't done in now. So if you logged with the DynamoDB, so no one else can trigger your workflow. So now I'm not using DynamoDB. So basically, the state file that is sitting in the S3 bucket is basically locked. So I have to unlock the state file manually. So while running the Terraform plan, I'll just make a small change like lock is equal to false. So just for a temporary fix. So wherever the Terraform plan, not here. So just go inside Terraform steps. So wherever, so I'm just making this false. And also here, we are running a Terraform plan. So here I'm just making lock is equal to false. So I'm just making a commit. So I'm coming here and then I'm making a change to this pull request. So I'm just making a commit to this feature branch. So let's go to the workflow now. Let's wait until it's so it's just triggered now. Let's start running. So let's see whether it now passes the Terraform plan. I don't know because I don't know like the fix. Generally, if state file is locked, the way you have to unlock is using the lock ID, which it will show. But since I'm setting the lock is false, it will not. You should not check. Like that's what I'm guessing, and then applied. If this works, then it's fine. But it doesn't work. It says too many line arguments. So some issue with this file. I'm just copying this error and asking Copilot. Okay, so the way I have passed is like I missed the hyphen Terraform steps. See here, I have like missed passing the hyphen. So that's why it basically failed. Okay, then what else? Okay, here as well, just for the apply as well, need to pass. What else? I think that's it. Okay, we should be good now. So I'm just making a like small change just for the sake of triggering the workflow. So I might add a trigger section as on push that will like make a, I mean, whenever you make a push, it will trigger. But in terms of process oriented, so all the workflow should be triggered via a pull request chain. I mean, if you make a change to the pull request, then it should trigger. Let's see how, like whether it fixes now. But okay, now it fixed. It was able, the plan was running now. It was able, I mean, it is trying to create 16 to add. So the plan is completed now. And then it started running Terraform apply. And then it started creating the resource. So if you look at, just I'm recollecting, if you look at the source repository, it just contains the modules, Terraform modules, and then it just contains the workflow, which is like a plain workflow. It doesn't contain any steps. So the way we have set all the configurations in the reusable workflow pointing to the main branch. This is basically a tag that we call or branch. So we're branching to the main. So we're like basically sitting on a different repo, which is sitting here. So and then we are usually all the workflows will sit inside a workflows folder. So the first workflow we are calling from the source workflow is environment status workflow. From environment status workflow, we're calling for Terraform steps.yml based on the environment. Because so whatever the resources you create in multiple environments should be consistent, right? So if you create resources in dev, the same thing you have to create in the pre-prod and prod, right? Because all the testing happens should be like same, should be same, and the environment configurations resources should be same across the environments. So then only you can able to promote the change or release the applications on I mean across the our environments, and then also for the prod. So let's check whether the okay. So now if you see it basically deployed to the dev and it is waiting for approval for the production. So let's do one thing. So dev is completed. So as I mentioned, so dev and prod accounts, I'm using the same AWS account. So if you check 1 second. So dev and the configurations like environment status, and if you see, so the environment is dev, and then we are using the role ARN is same for both the dev and prod, which means like we're using the same AWS account. So let's approve this, go to review deployments, click on prod, and then approve and promote the deployment. So I have approved now. So as soon as you approve, if you just refresh it, it started triggering the deployment. So again, for the prod, it will use the same template. All the configuration will use the same configurations. It will run Terraform init, plan, validate. Because why it is running the same? Because in the environments you are calling again for the prod you are calling the same workflow. So prod also it started running. It is doing validation now. So validation okay, and then it is running Terraform plan. So if you compare both the steps, the workflow steps, both will be the same because you're using the same template. Just for that, you just differentiated between the environments, and then plan is applied. I mean, okay, and then like it is deploying the resources now. So we started creating the resources in the production. I assume that you have a different account for the production. So let's wait until it's created. So once dev is created, once the resource is created in the dev account, I mean AWS account, I just deleted those buckets in the backend because else, since we're using the same AWS account, it will throw error, or it'll the plan will basically plan apply will basically will not show anything. It'll say that resource already created in the previous step. So I did like deletion in the backend once this step is completed. So that's why you see the prod it is creating again because we are using the same AWS account. That's why it is showing like creating the buckets again. So if you go back to the AWS, we just refresh the page. So you see all these buckets created just now, like 515, 516, this bucket as well. So let's go back to the GitHub. So yeah, so the dev and prod deployments are completed. So approvals, that's how you set it up in the like whichever the environment you want. So you have to set up in the environment section. You have to go to the settings, environments. So you first create dev and prod, and then you have to add a protection rule. You can also add a protection rule for dev as well if you require. You just have to click this required areas, and then you can add the user ID or the teams, and then save the protection. That's it. So once you save, you go to environments, it will show for the dev, the protection rule is added. So that whenever any changes happens to the dev, someone should approve. So that's the whole idea. Yeah, I think that is it. I mean, I have for this project. And if you start implementing this project on your own, you might face multiple issues, just like how Pradeep he tried how he face multiple issues. So if you guys also start integrating and start doing hands-on, so you will face multiple issues. And then once eventually you fix one by one, that will solve it. All your issues, or at least whatever I showed in the demo, you'll be able to reach to that point.